The national program to replace timber railway sleepers with concrete has attracted some controversy. Train drivers operating between Sydney and Melbourne have complained about mud holes affecting sections of the line, forcing them to slow down. Despite this, the sleeper replacement program is going full steam ahead, and the federal government expects a third of all interstate lines will be converted over the next 4 years. But what does this mean for the people who source and cut timber sleepers? Well, it may not be the end of the line, but it does pose new challenges for a unique industry.
Currumba, in the hinterland of Coffs Harbour in New South Wales, Rod Booker is one of the last of the solo sleeper cutters.
This is an easy job, this one. Like, it's fairly flat. We get areas that are fairly steep to do. Yeah, just take it as it comes. Well, it's private property, about 100 acres. Probably 40 of it would be bush. Probably, I don't know, 20 load that we'll shift, I suppose, from the place.
Rod Booker is looking for so-called royal species, hardwood trees that will end up on railway tracks and bridges around New South Wales.
Oh, well, you pick a tree and up the size what you want to take, and yeah, then you've got to work out where it's going to fall, and then you sort of pick a safe place for it to fall if you can. Put your belly cut in and back it off, and hopefully it falls where you want it to. Trees are like us, they've got a lifespan. They eventually die and fall down too, same as we do.
So you're just helping them along?
Yeah, just shorten their life a little bit. And when you're taking trees out too, it makes room for more trees to come up. Like if a bit of disturbance and you get plenty of regrowth, sort of thing. That's just helps it along too.
Timber sleepers are being removed on major lines in Australia as part of a $3 billion program to make rail more competitive. They're being replaced by concrete sleepers, which last longer and are less affected by the weather.
There's a real need to improve the reliability and the performance of rail between Melbourne, Sydney and Brisbane. And in the course of that, we rolled out a concrete sleeper program, which is aimed to get rid of heat restrictions, strengthen the track, have less restrictions brought about by maintenance, so that rail can get in the game and be competitive to help move our goods and services. So now we've actually fully concrete sleepered in less than 4 years the line between Melbourne, Sydney and Brisbane.
How long before you really see a competitive advantage?
We're already starting to see movements in the market. We're now in a situation where on the east-west coast, Sydney, Melbourne to Perth and return, rail's now moved to 82% market share against road. It's the Deutsche Bank actually said it's the most competitive intermodal corridor in the world. The Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, we're starting to see the market start to creep back even after the global financial crisis. We've done much better than our competitors, both in road and air. They're down 15 or 16% on movements compared to pre-GFC. In the last 6 months, we're actually up 5.1%.
The development of rail in Australia has been a story of nation building.
The railways overcame the tyranny of distance. They helped agriculture. The government gave the communities a railway. The communities used the railway to bring wool and wheat and meat into the cities, into the markets, and into the ports for transport overseas. They were considered to be the equivalent of the internet of the 19th century. So they had the full legislative backing of government, which meant that they were empowered to enter private properties to source timber for bridges, stations, rolling stock, and timber sleepers as well.
Jim Longworth is the Heritage Advisor for New South Wales Railways. He says there's a rich history to the Australian sleeper cutter.
They were sole traders, they worked alone in large forests, working on very uneven footholds, constant danger of snakes and widowmakers falling from trees that were being felled. They'd gather their sleepers together, bring them into town, sell them to the railway timber inspector, and then I suspect they spent their money pretty fast in town before heading back out to the forest. And there is a trend in railway history to think less about the locomotives and the carriages and more about the sociology of the railway staff. I think there's a wonderful opportunity to learn more about the lives of the getters, of the fettlers who laid them, of the gangers who supervised the fettlers. It's very much an under-researched area in railway history.
While demand has fallen dramatically, there's still a market for timber railway sleepers to maintain smaller branch lines.
Let's just go back that way a smidgen there.
Yep. So.
Yeah, that should do. We'll get a couple of 180s out of it.
Mitch McKenzie and his associate Guy Seckham specialise in producing railway sleepers, but they must compete with larger timber mills for a resource that's increasingly locked up in national parks and conservation estates.
We're getting less and less land to be able to source it on because a lot of it's getting locked up. Find the right logs because the railway only want good stuff. They want hard, durable timber. Iron bark, tallow wood, grey gum, white mahogany, grey box, stuff like that. The other stuff's too soft, it just won't wear on the track. You've got your big mills, they get first crack at it. Little blokes like me, you just got to pick around, get bits in here and there, wherever you can get them, you know. So you've got to keep your eye out for them.
Mitch McKenzie has worked in the timber industry all his adult life. He says the move towards concrete sleepers may be progress, but he has his doubts.
Yeah, I guess it had to come, you know. But I'm not sure whether concrete sleepers would be any more environmentally friendly. I couldn't see how, really. Timber grows back again, so it's a pretty good, I think it's the best. It's a great resource, Australian hardwood. I think we import $4 billion worth of timber a year. We've got it grown in the backyard, you know. So why, I don't know.
At Glen Ray, in the Clarence Valley region of New South Wales, 3,000 people turned up to this year's Timber Festival to show their support for the industry.
Well, look, things are very positive up here. We've got good regeneration rates and that with our timber, plenty of orders for the better type of timbers, along with the lesser types as well. But, yeah, the government seem to see fit to keep purchasing these timbers for their bridges, wharfs, decking and that sort of thing, so it's going very well.
How concerned is the industry up here with the growing influence of the conservation movement?
Well, there is a lot of concern. The Greens seem to have just one thing in mind, lock all the bush up, which I don't believe is the best way to go for the welfare of the bush. And we've got communities that depend on timber and it's the only renewable resource we've got. So why not keep it alive and kicking?
38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43.
When he's not milling sleepers, Mitch McKenzie is a champion axeman. But he's also a conservationist. He reckons most timber workers are.
The more people that get around the timber industry and get a feel for it and get around the bush, I think the emotional side of it will go out of it. And it'll be a bit of common sense, you know. Because the demand for timber is big.
Oh, split that line.
I'm sure people get the wrong idea about it. They think you just cut it down, you're not really into it. But yeah, we're into the bush. There's no point in just letting them grow and fall over and ants eat them or, use them. Just do it sensibly. That's the trouble now. We're getting into too small of an area to source our timber, and therefore people get pushed to log it harder.
And that's a view shared by Rod Booker. As one of the last solo sleeper cutters, he's competing against highly mechanised logging companies.
Yeah, all the areas are like they're growing back, but I don't know whether they're growing back as fast as there's a lot of operations in the bush now. They're taking more timber out than what we used to take, like smaller size, which makes the time you get to go back into the bush, longer between cuts. It's getting harder and harder to get areas to do, and yeah, there might only be another couple of years' work left, I'm not sure.